Shedeur Sanders, to Cincinnati. That's it. That's all it took. No press conference. No trade confirmation. Just one little rumor wafting through the NFL ether like a ticking time bomb. And suddenly the entire city of Cleveland was foaming at the mouth like they just watched their team burn a first-round pick on a retired punter. But before we get into Dee Haslam allegedly blowing a gasket behind closed doors, and oh, we will get there, let's rewind. Because like all great sports chaos, this didn't come out of nowhere. No, this was a slow burn drama, simmering just under the surface of an already hyper-paranoid AFC North. It starts with Joe Burrow, golden boy, franchise messiah, king of cool, but now king of the injury report. That turf toe situation, if you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed. Not great. Not just sitting for a game or two bad. We're talking this could derail the entire season bad. Suddenly, the Bengals, a team that prides itself on offensive stability, are one misstep away from throwing a clipboard at their backup QB and hoping for the best. Enter the whisper campaign. Shedeur Sanders, the face of Colorado, son of primetime himself. He's got the swagger, the arm, the leadership. He's TikTok ready and ESPN approved. The moment Joe Burrow got sidelined, the rumor mill fired up like it was NFL draft night. And at the center of it, Shedeur, supposedly on Cincinnati's radar as a trade prospect or, depending on who you ask, some elaborate long-term draft scheme. And that's when Cleveland lost its mind. See, Browns fans don't just hate the Bengals. They live to hate the Bengals. It's cultural. It's generational. It's the kind of rivalry that makes people boo their cousin at Thanksgiving because he wore orange. So the mere possibility of Shedeur Sanders, someone with that much upside, that much visibility, suiting up in tiger stripes, that hit them like a punch to the soul. And here's the kicker. Cleveland has their own quarterback situation to deal with. And surprise, surprise, it's a mess. Again, Deshaun Watson's tenure has been turbulent at best, controversial at worst, and deeply inconsistent throughout. The Browns are still riding a carousel of quarterback solutions that never seem to pan out. One week it's hope, the next it's horror. So when they hear rumors of Cincinnati making chess moves, potentially locking in the next franchise star, while Cleveland's still figuring out how to complete a screen pass, yeah, panic button gets smashed. Allegedly, things got so heated internally that Dee Haslam, co-owner of the Browns and queen of the war room, lost it during a team meeting when the Shedeur rumors reached peak velocity. Eyewitnesses say it wasn't your typical boardroom frustration. We're talking full tilt, pacing the floor, questioning reality mode. Phones slammed, people shuffled out of rooms. The energy? Crisis management, but make it NFL. Because for the Haslams, this isn't just about talent. It's about optics. If Shedeur Sanders goes to Cincinnati and succeeds, the Browns are once again the punchline. Another golden opportunity missed. Another QB hero wearing the wrong shade of Ohio. Meanwhile, Bengals fans are loving this. They're sipping Skyline chili and tweeting mock-ups of Shedeur in orange and black with captions like Burrow's heir. They don't even need him right now. But just knowing it could happen, that's all it takes to send the fan base into smug overdrive. And don't even get started on the sports media. They live for this kind of tension. Every time a college quarterback shines, every time a rival franchise shows weakness, the talking heads spin up their hypothetical trades and speculative what-ifs. Is Shedeur NFL ready? Would he sit behind Burrow or push for the throne? Is this all a smokescreen to freak out division rivals? Yes, and probably. But again, none of this is confirmed, which makes it even worse. Because now we're in the most dangerous NFL territory, the rumor zone. That cursed limbo where nothing is real, but everything feels urgent. Where fan bases start interpreting cryptic tweets and jersey number changes, like they're decoding the Zodiac Killer. Where an offhand quote from Deion Sanders about Shedeur playing where he's respected becomes a headline on every sports site from Bleacher Report to TMZ Sports. And in that space, perception is reality. You don't need a signed contract. You just need momentum. And right now, The momentum is not with Cleveland, which brings us to this week's honorary meltdown trophy, the Brown subreddit. If you thought fan despair peaked after the Factory of Sadness era, think again. This is high art, conspiracy posts, trade proposal spreadsheets, deep dives into Bengals draft capital. Some fans are so convinced Shedeur to Cincy is happening, they're already declaring the next decade a wash. One guy even suggested boycotting the draft. If Shedeur goes to Cincinnati, we riot. Like, sir, please, the NFL draft is in April. Touch grass. And look, let's not act like the Browns don't have reasons to be insecure. This is a team that passed on Patrick Mahomes. The team that has turned quarterback development into an elaborate form of psychological torture. When your franchise history is built on what-ifs and heartbreaks, the idea of your most hated rival scooping up the next big thing, that hits different. It's like being stuck in a toxic relationship, and your ex suddenly shows up with someone hotter, younger, and more charismatic. You're not just mad, you're embarrassed. Meanwhile, the Bengals are playing it cool. No big announcements. No denials. Just a few smirks at pressers and cryptic mentions of building for the future. It's the football equivalent of someone saying, I don't need a new QB, but I wouldn't mind one. Translation? They're absolutely stirring the pot. And the best part? Shedeur is just vibing through all of it, posting workout clips, wearing designer shades, probably sipping alkaline water somewhere, while watching grown men on ESPN debate his fate like he's a Game of Thrones character. Dion's probably loving it too. Every mention of Shedeur boosts the brand. The Sanders dynasty is playing 4D chess while the rest of us are still trying to win Connect 4. So what's the lesson here? That rumors are dangerous? That AFC North fans need therapy? That the Bengals might actually be turning into an evil genius franchise? Yes, all of the above. Because even if nothing happens, even if Shedeur stays put or goes to some wild card team like the Raiders or Seahawks, the Browns have already taken a psychological L. The panic was real. The fear was real. The meltdown was real. All over something that might happen. And that's the power of the NFL narrative machine. It doesn't need facts. It just needs friction. So what now? Cleveland regroups. Fans cope. The Haslams probably call in a PR firm to control the optics. And Cincinnati? They just keep winning the mental game. Oh, and Dee Haslam? Next time, maybe don't throw a stapler across the room when a rumor breaks. It's bad for morale. And probably worse for drywall. If you're still hanging on to hope, drop your dream trade predictions in the comments and tell us which NFL franchise deserves to suffer next. And if you enjoy watching grown adults lose their minds over things that haven't even happened yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. If Shedeur Sanders actually ends up in Cincinnati, it's not just a win for the Bengals. It's a full-blown, legacy-defining humiliation for the Browns. Let's call it what it is. The Haslams have spent years trying to scrub off the Browns' QB graveyard image. You know the one. That cursed jersey with all the crossed-out names. Couch, Whedon, Quinn, Manziel, Kaiser. The list goes on like a bad horror franchise that refuses to die. Every year they promise it's finally different. And every year, fans wake up in cold sweats by week 5. And now, right when things are supposed to stabilize, when they paid a king's ransom for Deshaun Watson, rebranded the roster, and built up a defense that actually looks scary, this. The fear that just 2 hours south, their arch rival might secure the actual quarterback of the future. And you know Shedeur would eat that up. He's not just a quarterback. He's a brand, a walking headline. He wears watches bigger than your dad's car. He understands the game on the field and the game off of it. And nothing screams cinematic villain arc like showing up in the AFC North with primetime DNA and a chip on your shoulder. Can you even imagine theatrics? Week 1, Bengals versus Browns. Burrow's still nursing a foot injury. The camera is cut to Shedeur walking out of the tunnel like he's entering WrestleMania. The boos rain down. Browns fans are throwing foam dog pound bones like they're weapons. And there's Shedeur, smiling like he's about to make Cleveland his personal highlight reel. And maybe that never happens. Maybe it's just noise. But the fact that the possibility exists The fact that it feels plausible tells you everything you need to know about the state of these franchises. The Bengals? Calculated, patient, chaotic in a fun way. They lose Burrow for 3 months and don't panic. They evaluate. They scheme. They weaponize media whispers like it's a strategic tool. That's how a stable franchise operates. They're not in crisis. They're in control. The Browns? Spiraling. Again. Always. They don't even have to lose a player for it to feel like they've lost. The rumor alone was enough to trigger DEFCON 1. That says more than any stat sheet ever could. And can we talk about the Dee Haslam explosion for a second? Like, really talk about it? Because, listen, we've all had bad days at the office. Printers jammed, coffee's cold, and someone just scheduled a 4:30 p.m. meeting that should have been an email. But imagine you're Dee Haslam, co-owner of an NFL team, sitting in a luxury boardroom, trying to build a new Browns era, when suddenly you get hit with, hey, so Bengals might scoop Shedeur Sanders out from under us. That's not just a bad day. That's nightmare fuel. And you know how these internal conversations go. Someone tries to soften the blow, like, well, it's just a rumor. We can't overreact. And then someone else, maybe an analyst with 3 monitors and a caffeine problem, chimes in like, actually, if Burrow goes on IR and they pull off a pre-draft trade, the math works. Boom. That's it. Explosion. Because it's never just about the player. It's about what it represents. Hope, legacy, image. And if Shedeur becomes the face of a Bengals dynasty, while the Browns are still putting together a backup plan for their backup plan, you don't just lose games. You lose the narrative. And in 2025, losing the narrative is sometimes worse than losing the division. Because in the NFL, everything is optics. Press conferences, pre-draft interviews, Instagram comments. It's all theater. That's why a player like Shedeur causes so much chaos without even stepping on an NFL field yet. He's the perfect storm of talent, charisma, and legacy. He's the kind of player fans project on to hero, villain, savior, threat, depending on what color jersey he ends up in. So, of course, Cleveland fans are spiraling. They've been trained for this, conditioned by decades of disappointment to assume that if there's a disaster scenario, it's probably the one that's going to happen. And for a moment, let's just indulge the fantasy. Let's say the Bengals do make the move. Let's say Shedeur ends up on their roster. And let's say he becomes the next great AFC North gunslinger. Where does that leave Cleveland? Quarterback controversy. Front office chaos. Headlines like Cleveland misses again, trending within 24 hours. Fans holding signs that say, we could have had Shedeur. And the Bengals? They become that team, the one with too much quarterback talent, the one people complain about because they're too prepared. It's not fair, but it's football. And that's the thing people forget. Sports aren't logical. They're emotional, irrational. You don't freak out over a rumor because it's true. You freak out because it could be. And in the AFC North, that's all it takes. This division doesn't just compete, it bleeds. Ravens, Steelers, Browns, Bengals. It's like a family reunion where everyone brings brass knuckles. Every storyline is weaponized. Every injury is a psychological war zone. Every draft pick is a referendum on your franchise's soul. And that's why a single rumor about Shedeur Sanders set off this chain reaction. Because in this division, you don't need confirmation. You just need doubt. And Cleveland? Doubt is their specialty. So here we are. The Bengals might not even want Shedeur. This could all be a misdirection. An elaborate smokescreen while they quietly target someone else. But the Browns still flinched. The fans panicked. Dee Haslam allegedly went ballistic. And the Bengals? They got to watch it all from their high ground. Calm as a monk, sipping on the chaos like it was sweet tea. That's the difference between a franchise with confidence and a franchise with trauma. But let's not end on a complete Cleveland roast. Because here's the truth. Their reaction, while over the top, is also kind of relatable. Real. That's what sports are. Passionate. Unhinged. Loud. You want your fans to care. You want your owner to get mad. You want the fire, even if it sometimes burns you. The real tragedy would be if no one reacted. If fans saw the headline and just shrugged, that would mean they've given up. And despite everything, despite the heartbreak in history, Browns fans haven't given up. They still believe. Maybe too hard. Maybe in the wrong things. But they believe. And that's why a rumor hurts so much. Not because it breaks you, but because it threatens the thing you're still clinging to. That maybe, just maybe, this year will finally be different. Spoiler alert, it probably won't. But in the meantime, keep the popcorn ready. Because the NFL isn't just a league. It's a soap opera, a spectacle, a season-long fever dream where the rumors are juicier than the games and the meltdowns are better than the wins. So, will Shedeur Sanders actually end up in Cincinnati? No idea. Doesn't matter. The Browns already lost a battle, not on the field, but in the mind. And that, folks, is the kind of plot twist that deserves a standing ovation. And now you're asking the real question, where do we go from here? Because here's the hard truth. Whether or not Shedeur ever puts on a Bengals jersey, this moment will linger, like a bad tattoo, like a Drake lyric you didn't want to memorize but now can't forget. The Browns flinched, publicly, viscerally, and in the NFL, that kind of emotional exposure is blood in the water. And the Sharks? Oh, they're circling. Steelers fans are already cooking. Ravens fans are laughing behind the scenes. Cincinnati fans are just bathing in the psychological high of watching a rival lose their mind over something they haven't even done yet. It's like trolling someone by doing nothing and still watching them collapse in real time. You gotta admit, that's a power move. But let's zoom out. Let's talk about what this rumor really represents. Because it's not just about Shedeur Sanders or Dee Haslam or Burrow's big toe. It's about the ever-present, always bubbling undercurrent of NFL anxiety. The way every team is one bad decision away from becoming a meme. Let's be honest. The NFL isn't a league of who has the best roster. It's a league of who can avoid public embarrassment the longest. That's the real game. That's why Browns fans didn't just get upset. They went nuclear. Because it wasn't just about Shedeur going to a rival. It was about the idea that, once again, the Browns were on the wrong side of a power shift. They've been through this before. Too many times. Think about it. Every single time a star emerges from the draft, there's a 75% chance Cleveland passed on him. Josh Allen? Nah, they'll take Baker. Patrick Mahomes? They'll pass. Lamar Jackson? Nah, let's wait and see. It's like watching someone order the worst thing on the menu every single time, and then complain that dinner was ruined. So the fear that yet another generational quarterback might land in Ohio, but not their side of Ohio, cuts deep. It's not just fear of missing out. It's fear of becoming a trivia question. Again, and here's where it gets even messier. Because Shedeur Sanders, he's not just a quarterback. He's a statement. A future marketing machine. He's the kind of player that reshapes how a franchise is perceived. The kind of guy who could turn a cold, corporate Midwestern team into a cultural juggernaut. He's the face of the nil era. The embodiment of football, but make it fashion. So, if the Bengals do get him, you're not just facing a good quarterback, you're facing a brand. And if there's one thing the Browns have never figured out how to do, it's build a sustainable identity. They don't know who they are. They bounce between eras like a Netflix show with too many rewrites. One year it's gritty underdog energy. Next year it's big spender swagger. Then it's trust the analytics. Then it's trust the vibes. They're playing musical chairs with their own personality. Meanwhile, the Bengals, they know exactly who they are. Joe Burrow gave them an identity. Confident, calculated, a little smug, a little sexy. If they add Shedeur into that mix, that's not a team. That's a dynasty starter kit. And you know what's really wild? Cincinnati doesn't even need him. That's the most devastating part. They could just be floating this idea to mess with people. Plant a little seed. Let it grow. Let the other franchises lose sleep. Let the fans spiral. Meanwhile, they're sitting comfortably, fully aware that even if the rumor never materializes, they've already won the narrative. Because here's the playbook. Control perception. Control chaos. It's what New England did for years. What Kansas City does now. It's the secret currency of the modern NFL. owning the narrative cycle. And Cleveland? They're still trying to pay off emotional debt from 1999. Look, no one's blaming Dee Haslam for losing her mind. Honestly, you kind of respect it. This wasn't fake corporate outrage. This wasn't some PR coach poker face. This was raw. This was personal. This was, how dare you bring up another quarterback when we're still emotionally processing the last 7? Because when you've thrown as much money and as many years at trying to fix the most cursed QB room in football history, the last thing you want to hear is that the kid with the watch and the buzz cut might be setting up camp 2 hours south. And don't even get started on what this means for Shedeur himself. If he does end up going to Cincinnati, this man is walking into the NFL with a storyline that writes itself. He's the one the Browns were afraid of before he even got drafted. That's legend status before his first snap. The media will eat it up. The fans will lean in. The pressure? Immense. But the potential? Unstoppable. And if he goes somewhere else? Doesn't matter. Because now the mythos is baked in. And the Browns? They'll still be picking up the pieces of a media firestorm they weren't prepared for. You know what this whole thing feels like? It feels like that moment in a movie where someone thinks a villain is dead, but the camera lingers a little too long and the hand twitches. Everyone in the theater gasps. You know something's coming. It hasn't happened yet, but you can feel it. That's Shedeur Sanders right now, lurking, not even in the league yet, but already shaking foundations. And as for Cleveland, they're stuck in the worst timeline, not because something bad happened, but because something might. An emotional toll of that, way worse than a loss on Sunday. Because this wasn't a defeat in the standings. This was a defeat of the psyche, a forced mirror moment. A reminder that no matter how many GMs, QBs, coordinators, or color rush jerseys you cycle through, the Browns still haven't earned the luxury of ignoring a rumor. They still react like they've got something to lose. Because they do. Hope. So here's the real drama, the kind that doesn't make highlight reels. If you're a Browns fan, you have to ask yourself, how long are you going to live in fear of the next big what if? How long are you going to treat every other team's future star as your next nightmare? Because until Cleveland finds peace, until they can build something stable and believe in it, they'll keep flinching, they'll keep spiraling, they'll keep watching press conferences and message boards like they're horror films. Meanwhile, the rest of the AFC North, they'll just keep watching. And Shedeur? Whether he ends up in Cincinnati or not, one thing for sure, he already owns real estate in Cleveland's head. Now, if you've made it this far, congrats, you survived a rumor hurricane. Drop a comment and let us know. Is this all hype, or is the NFL's next great QB rivalry already brewing beneath the surface? Who's bluffing, who's plotting, and who's destined for meltdown? Hit subscribe for more weekly drama, delusion, and dumpster fires from around the league. Because let's be honest, you're not watching football for the stats. You're here for the chaos. Catch you next time, same scandal.